Welcome to the Experience Comcast. I'm your host, Brigett Buis, and today I have my friend and special guest, Leah Cheshire, here with us. So, welcome in, Leah.
Thank you, Bridget, for asking me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here. So, today, Leah is a national board certified health and wellness coach. She has her master's in speech language pathologist, and she has been a homeschooling mom for several years. So, she has this diverse background. So, Leah, tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you got into the health and wellness coaching, and a little bit more about what you do.
Well, thanks, Bridget. I have been in health and wellness probably now for about almost 20 years, as far as the nutritional aspect and kind of lifestyle strategies. But my background is a speech language pathologist. I've been doing that over 30, but I took a break when we began homeschooling our children, who we homeschooled through high school. But what drew me in initially was I was having some health conditions. I had a child who was diagnosed with ADHD and some sensory issues. And we went the conventional route for a little bit, and that wasn't really working well. So I started doing a lot of digging, and I am kind of a research nerd. I love to do that.
Yes.
And so I started doing that. And so we went to a functional medicine practitioner, and that's how we worked on my child's issues. And then I also I had suffered for a lot of fatigue and some other issues and I experienced three miscarriages, and we didn't know what was going
Wow.
on. And finally, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's
Mm.
thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune disease. And so, I had that. I also had the stress of homeschooling two children, but one who had some special needs. I was a caretaker for several ill elderly parents. I had some faulty thinking patterns, like a lot of us do over the years and
Yep.
all, and just typical daily responsibilities. And I really felt stressed out. And so I found that using nutrition and lifestyle strategies, more kind of holistic, really helped me handle the stress and also
Yeah.
helped my family as well, as the nutrition, of course, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like so many of us in the health and wellness industry, especially as health coaches, we have walked that journey of
Yes.
facing some kind of health challenge. And because of that, and a lot of it is because we have overcome some of that and a lot of it. And so now we want to share that with others because we understand that challenge. And so much I learned about you, though, just now. I didn't realize a lot of those things that you had walked through. So, yeah,
Yeah.
goodness, a lot of stress there, a lot of things going on, definitely with, when your child is sick in any sort of realm, that's always just such a stressor on you. I know for myself, like I can be sick, but when my kid's sick, like that's a whole other game,
Yes.
right? So you had that, you had some issues going on. So now that you've kind of been through that journey and have learned so much, and in your health and wellness coaching, I know that you see a lot of clients who probably deal with some of the same issues, or at least you see some of these things resurfacing and you see stress affecting them.
Yes.
So tell us how you see stress coming out in your clients, some of the ways that you notice that, and maybe even if they don't recognize what's going on.
Yeah, well, one thing I didn't mention that I also have had is a lot of digestive issues and gut health issues, and was diagnosed with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, as well as SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And so, a lot of my clients have um, autoimmune diseases, but they also have a lot of the digestive symptoms as well. And sometimes it's kind of the chicken or egg scenario. We don't know which happened first that caused it.
Right.
And a lot of them have fatigue, brain fog, weight gain, or weight loss where they can't gain weight.
Right.
They also have a whole lot of the digestive issues. They have food sensitivities, diarrhea, constipation. They may have acid reflux, heartburn and GERD. Some of them have had Crohn's or some kind of colitis, and they have tried doing taking medications, which I am not against medications at all. I've been on them, on and off throughout the years. There's a time and a place for them, but
Exactly.
the ones that come to me are the ones who have tried that and they seem to be at a plateau or they're not getting better. So they reach out for more of a holistic approach. And those are the
Right.
types of clients that um, I see typically. And I always tell them, I'm not telling you to get rid of your doctor. In fact, I believe in the team approach that it's the client who is ruling the roost, so to speak. And then the doctor and we all make up this team because our goal is obviously for our client to feel better and get better. And I am a Christian. And so I also approach it from health overall, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, because I believe it's all
Yes.
interconnected. The Lord
Yes.
created our bodies, our minds, and it's all affected. What affects one area is going to affect the other. And I know that was
Absolutely.
what happened in my own case. And with my clients, I see just the same thing going on and on. So those are kind of primarily the clients I see. Usually they're women. I have worked with a couple of men, but usually it's women over 40 and they start having all these symptoms plus the hormones kick in, the lack of hormones, I should say, with the perimenopause and menopause, and it all just kind of blows up.
Yeah. And I feel like with all the symptoms that you listed, I feel like you probably um put in a category 90% of Americans
Yeah,
because
I
I feel
know.
like so many people that I hear and talk to experience some of those symptoms. And sometimes it may not be a drastic thing. It might be, just some other things causing that. But when you really look at that long-term kind of chronic situation, there are so many people who are dealing with things. And I love how you said you don't want to get rid of their doctor because it really is a team approach. And I think when we think of it as a both and situation, it's the doctor giving that knowledge that he has and can run tests and kind of do some of that digging, and give some of that direction, and then the coaching also in helping change those behaviors, learning those new behaviors, how to make those changes and what to do. Just really, it can really make such a great impact. And I love that. And so,
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Yes.
yeah. So I think some of these people probably don't even realize that maybe stress is causing some of this, but also that these things that they are experiencing are also contributing to another layer of stress on their body. Kind of like you said, it is a very holistic approach. Do you often see that they don't even see the connection between some of their physical and maybe some of the stress in different areas of their life?
Absolutely. I always talk about it. And, I think our society, I mean, I was looking up this morning, the statistics by the American Psychological Association is that 75% of Americans experience some type of stress. And that is ridiculous if you think about it. It's three-quarters of our population. But when I work with clients, we talk about stress. And, a lot of times it's bragging rights, right? We think we pat ourselves on the back
Yeah.
and we say, oh, I'm stressed. But it's really nothing to pat yourself on the back about, right?
Right.
But stress in and of itself is not a bad thing.
Right.
Short term stress can be good. If our child runs into the middle of the street, we want that stress in our bodies to kick in, that cortisol, that adrenaline rush to get us to the street to get our child out of harm's way. Also, if we
Absolutely.
have to meet a deadline, short term stress is positive.
Mhm.
The problem is when we allow it to continue on, and chronic stress is actually defined as longer than a few weeks, months, or even years. And the majority of the people that I see, it's chronic. And
Yes.
like you said, they don't really realize how much it has affected them. They may think they're just tired because they stayed up late. They may tell me they have insomnia, and then we start digging, and it's because they are so stressed out. And they don't realize that there is this gut brain relationship, this gut brain axis, and that can affect us so much. I mean, we can talk about that in a little bit more detail if you want to, but that once they find out that, that's more physiological. And so I don't think people really realize, they think stress is just mental. They don't realize how much it affects them physiologically, and that that can cause all these issues, and that, it's not their fault. They have to just learn ways to handle it. But once they learn how much it can affect them, then I think they realize that they really need to work on their stress.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up because I do feel like the science is there to prove that gut brain connection, and we just don't really talk about it as much as maybe we should. But the science is there showing that that is a thing and that it does affect both ways. And so I feel like maybe we could go a little bit more into that. One of the things that I read in a book recently, they brought out the fact that we as a society are so anxious and depressed, which, stress can lead to that. Um, and we have given more and more antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication,
Mhm.
and yet with that increase, we should see, if it was working, we should see a decrease in depression and anxiety, but we don't. We're actually seeing an increase in those things. And again, not to say that medicine is all wrong and we should never go that route, because sometimes I do feel like that we need some medicine until we can
Mhm.
change and really get to the bottom of things. But there is this, we have medication for it, but it's not really doing what we need it to do because depression, anxiety, all of this is still increasing. So maybe tell us a little bit more about that connection with that stress and the gut, and how that works, or kind of how it affects each other.
Okay. Well, so the gut and the brain are interconnected. Basically, there is a nerve. It's actually two nerves, but we kind of talk about it as one. It's called the vagus nerve, and it runs all the way from the medulla in our brain to our large intestine. And so it runs through all kinds of organs you can imagine. And what it does is it causes us to either be calm and relaxed, or to be anxious and very stressed and all. And so some of your listeners have probably heard of the nervous system and the difference in the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems.
Mhm.
Well, the vagal nerve is actually part of the parasympathetic nervous system. And just briefly, the parasympathetic nervous system is the one that gives us very calm and kind of a peaceful state. I remember it by parasympathetic starts with a P and peace starts with a
Yeah,
B.
same thing for
Um,
me. I have
that
to alliterate here. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. But that's the one that we want to be in more of the time. And it's, you may have heard it called rest and digest. So when you're wanting to eat, you want to be calm and relaxed. On the other hand, the sympathetic nervous system is the one that is more of the fight, flight, or freeze. And that's the one that you want engaged when you are trying to get your child out of the middle of the street when a car is
Right.
coming. So we need them both. God created our bodies so marvelously, but we don't want to be in that sympathetic nervous system, all the time. And so we have to find a balance in how we can move into the parasympathetic nervous system state more often. And there also is, they your listeners have probably heard about the neurotransmitters, serotonin and dopamine, and those are typically chemical messengers, and they perform different body functions. And so they help with our mood and emotions, and they also help with digestion. And the interesting thing is, serotonin is produced mainly in your gut. And so
Yes.
many people call the gut the second brain, because if your gut isn't happy, then you're not going to be happy, basically,
Right.
is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's one reason why I felt really drawn to this particular area, because I do have issues, and that's where I tend to feel my stress more.
Mhm.
And a lot of my clients do as well. And so if we can help the gut, then we really are helping the whole body. We're helping decrease their stress, we're helping their mood, we're helping them relate to their loved ones, right? Because if you don't
Yes.
feel good, you're going to be irritable and moody and probably say things you don't want, whether that's at work or with your loved ones. So, it all is so interrelated, but I just find it fascinating. But I'm kind of nerdy like that, the gut brain axis and all.
I get it. I'm right there with you. I'm just like, let's dig in. This is so
Yeah.
interesting. But yes, it is like you said that the gut is often referred to as that second brain. And when we do work on that gut and let the gut heal, then we're not just working one area of the body. It really does affect everything. So tell us, now that we understand a little bit more, hopefully, about how all that works, if we are in this state of stress and maybe we've kind of been thinking of like, oh, I do have some of those issues and oh, I am stressed. What are some of the things that you recommend to your clients to do so that they can help their bodies, heal their gut and kind of move into that parasympathetic, more restful state?
Well, that's one thing. I don't, if people have been listening to this and they feel discouraged, that's one thing I always like to tell my clients is there is hope, right? I
Yes.
mean, God gives us hope, but there are practical things that we absolutely, can do. And
Yes.
one of the things that we really need to do is learn to be still. I love that Bible verse. It's Psalm 46:10 that says, "Be still and know that I am God." I think our society is so fast paced. We run from one activity to the next. So, one of the first things we can do is slow down. And
Yes.
so that if that means saying no to activities, even good things, I've had my church call me to volunteer in so many things, and I do, but there comes a time when I have to say no for my own mind and my own body.
Yes.
And but slowing down, also eating. I mean, I know you probably see this driving in the car. People are eating as they're driving, and I get it. Sometimes I'm drinking a smoothie on the way to an appointment or whatever, but if you can, at least 1 or 2 meals a day, sit down while you eat and slow down your eating. Don't rush so
Yes.
fast. Eliminate distractions while you are eating. No looking on your phone, scrolling. Don't be watching a
Yes.
movie, YouTube. I mean, I get
Right.
it. I tend to have that pull to do that too, even good
Yeah.
things.
Right.
But if we can slow down and when we're eating, we pause, say a prayer, thanks to God. But I'm a big proponent in deep breathing. In fact, before we
Yes.
got started, I did like 5 deep breaths. It's the
Yes.
simplest one for me to remember, and my clients is the 5-5-5 box technique. You just inhale slowly, a count of 5, you hold for a count of 5, and you exhale for 5, and you do that 5 times.
Yep.
And most of my clients are amazed at how much that little small thing really helps. And you can do
Yes.
it when you're driving in the car and there's traffic. You can,
Right.
do it wherever.
Yes.
Um, but as a health and wellness coach, and I went to IIN with you, of course, Brigett,
Yes.
and we really learned nutrition. And then I've done a lot more advanced training, like I know you have. But food is really the key. I mean, our
Yes.
mood is affected by food so much. And so one thing I do try to tell people is there's some foods that you need to limit or avoid, mainly sugar and processed foods and
Yep.
kind of the processed oils. Those we gravitate toward those, right? When we feel all
Yes.
stressed.
Yep.
But we set up this crazy cycle where we crave it, we eat it, we feel good for a couple hours, then we crash, and then we just keep doing it, and it doesn't help our body or our
Right.
mind.
Yeah.
And so, but I always some of the foods that I do like to recommend are like good, clean protein, healthy fats, fiber, and
Yes.
complex carbs, not the junky carbs like pastas and breads and all that. But eating healthy really does help you. And the people that I work with who have more IBS, we have to be a little bit more slow in approach because they may not be able to eat everything that everybody else
Right.
can. But one of the biggies that I've found is most people, especially women, since that's who I work with over 40, they don't eat enough protein.
Yes.
And protein is so key. It has amino acids. It's going to work on your repair and your gut lining, repairing that as well as all your cells and all. Eating healthy fats like avocados, some ground flax seeds, fruits and veggies, the more of those that you can get. And, like I said, I have to be kind of cautious with some of my IBS clients because some of those they can't eat. but we take small steps. That's one of my big mottos with doing
Yes.
that. Um, we also talk about supplements and herbs, since I am kind of holistic.
Yeah.
And none of this is medical advice. I just want to give that disclaimer. I
Right.
just make suggestions. My clients, if they want to do it, they do. I always tell them to check with their doctor. But some of the supplements are like fish oil because it's high in omega 3s, which can help with your mood and it heals your gut. Um, Also, some others are like collagen peptides, which can help with protein building, and that can
Yep.
kind of help. Another biggie, which really helps me personally, is digestive enzymes with every
Yes.
meal. And, if you can get a good quality one out there, I'm not talking about buying it at Walmart, you know,
Right.
um, those really do help, as well as probiotics and prebiotics, which can feed the good bacteria. The only caveat which I have to use with my clients is sometimes when they're in a flare or they have like the intestinal dysbiosis or they
Yes.
have any kind of food sensitivities, sometimes probiotics and prebiotics bother them. So they have to heal
Right.
first. But
Yes.
those are good for just everybody.
Yeah.
And then some herbs are like peppermint and ginger helps, chamomile. You can do those in teas, even capsules. There's some powders that have those in there, as well as slippery elm and marshmallow root. That kind of helps with the gut. Um, and then, do you want me to go on and tell some of the other lifestyle strategies, or do you want me to stop right
Absolutely. Yeah, you can
there?
go ahead.
Okay. Um, so sleep is such a biggie. And so
Yes.
if you're not getting adequate sleep, you are not going to be able to decrease your stress.
Right.
Um, as big a believer as I am in nutrition, I always tell my clients, if you had to ask me which one was more important, even though they both are very important, I would say you need to get your sleep or you're not going to feel well enough to make the choices
Right.
to eat healthy or have the energy to prepare healthy meals, right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So sleep is definitely one you need to do. Getting outside, in the sun, doing some exercise, gentle if that's all you can do. I'm a big believer in my morning quiet time, giving time to the Lord, but it just also helps set me, for the day and being grateful.
Yeah.
We know that grateful people are happier people, and
Yep.
all those, even though they're small steps, they really do help us keep our stress down, help with the gut issues, but all the other symptoms that we've talked about as well.
Yeah. And I love how you said with some clients, you have to be careful with certain things and talking about small steps. You're not asking people to do all of these at one time. And they may
Right.
not ever do all of these, for
Right.
that matter. It is a matter of what would work for you. What can you start, just doing a little at a time and then gradually implement from there. It is about small steps. So from that, which one is going to work best for you?
That's exactly right. And you and I have been doing this a long time, so we
True.
incorporate maybe many of the things, but I always tell my clients, if you can only do one thing this week, you do that. If it's trying to go to bed at 10 p.m. and you don't work on nutrition or anything else, that's a
Yes.
wonderful step for you to take to reach your
Yeah,
goal. Yeah.
absolutely. It's one step in that right direction. So, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love that. I love it. Well, Leah, it has been great having you here today. Before we close out, tell everybody if they want to find you, where can they find you?
Okay, well, it's been an honor to be here, Bridget. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I have learned so much from other podcasts. So I really hope this has been beneficial to your listeners as well.
Thank you.
But I have a website and it is nurturingyourlife.com. If you go there, you'll see a banner at the top, and I have a freebie, and it is 4 steps to ditch digestive distress. So that's one freebie I'm
Awesome.
offering. I am on Facebook. I have a private Facebook group. It's nurturingyourlife.com. And I'm also on Instagram. It's Leah Cheshire. So you can find me there as well. And the other freebie I have some 30 strategies to stress less. And it is some of these
Awesome.
little baby steps that we talked about, but some of the other things that I go into, like some supplements and some other things.
Yep, absolutely. We'll link that in the show notes. So that would be a great resource for people. So awesome. Well, thank you, Leah, again for being here. And I hope everyone has gleaned quite a bit of knowledge and has picked up at least one or two little tips that they can implement into helping themselves be stressed less and also maybe improving some digestion along the way. So, with that, thank you for joining us today on the Experience Calmcast, and we will talk to you again soon. As always, make sure you subscribe so you get notified of all the new episodes and give us a like and a share. We appreciate your support. If you like what you've heard and you want more, make sure that you check out Experience Calm Coaching for more ways to experience a calm body, mind, and spirit. You can also schedule a free consult to see how coaching could support you. Just go to www.experiencecalmcoaching.com.